let's talk about that. Since you're head of the Urban League, there are, especially when you and I were growing up, and there weren't any black mayors, there weren't black anything in terms of government, and now there are. What's happened with Ray Nagin is absolutely horrible, not just to the city, but to the black community.
It's a damaging thing for the. I've heard from several mayors, former mayors, colleagues with whom I served, who say it's a sad day for, quote, the office of mayor anywhere in the country. It is a tragic that this mayor, who happened to be an African American, also violated the sense of history and trust that many people afforded in him. But I also think that honesty can come in all colors, genders, political dispositions, oriented, you name it. And dishonesty comes in all colors. I mean, you've had a Ray Nagin, and you've had a Aaron Broussard. You've had a William Jefferson, and you've had an Eddie Price. I mean, I think we've seen it, unfortunately, in southeastern Louisiana. You've seen this panoply, but I firmly believe that the most important challenge is a challenge to not only the citizens, but also to elected officials to be reminded. I grew up believing that as an elected official, you couldn't be perfect. You couldn't be absolutely mistake prone. But my father taught me, my mother taught me that it was a public service, and that if you wanted to be an elected official, you had to be committed to public service. And if you weren't committed to public service, then there are many other professions that you can choose. If you choose to be in business, if you choose to be in the law, if you choose to do something else. But it's a sacred, sacred trust of public service. And I think we've seen, because I'm here in the New York area, I've seen mayors in this region. I've seen state legislators in this region. I've seen all sorts of officials in this region.
How about governors?
Alongside of the law.
How about governors in this region?
Governors in this region? Yeah, several governors, right? Yeah. I think 3 governors actually who found themselves in some sort of legal trouble, no doubt. So I think the people of New Orleans should not believe that this integrity issue with a handful of elected officials is unique to New Orleans and southeastern Louisiana. And sometimes you hear that, oh, we have more problems than elsewhere. No, you see these kinds of problems all over. Just as you see elected officials who are honest, who carry out the calling of public service with great intelligence, integrity, and competence. And that's, New Orleans has been, one of these communities that historically in the 20th century had a number of great, great leaders. You had Martin Berman, who was a legend in the early 20th century. You had Dilesepps S. Morrison, who really, really is someone who I learned from by studying his work and his terms as mayor of New Orleans. You had Moon Landrieu, who stood out. My father, who I think was special and one of the great mayors in the city's history. You had so many great leaders who led the community that people came to look up to the office of the institution of mayor. And I think what Nagin has done is soiled that office. But I think Mayor Mitch Landrieu, certainly has carried himself and conducted himself, I think, with integrity, and the challenge is there for him to continue to do so, as the challenge will be there for everyone who succeeds.